An apple a day keeps the doctor away, but a glass of OJ keeps the adversary at bay. Here's Odd Job. Hey, it's time for a glass of OJ. I'm Odd Job. So, Marriott has suffered, I believe, its 7th breach since 2010, if I understand correctly. Definitely in the last 10 years, it's at least the 5th breach. And it reminds me kind of back in 2018, they had their largest breach, which was somewhere in the 380 million guest records stolen. I was in that breach. So was most of InfoSec who's ever stayed at a Marriott hotel for a conference. Your data was included in that. Well, this time was a little different. This time, essentially what happened is the attackers ended up somehow gaining access to one particular hotel within Marriott and gained access to that associate's computer. I understand it was via social engineering. Hey, open this email. Hey, click on this link. I'm here to give tech support. At some point, the associate was realizing what was going on and stopped what they were doing, reported the issue. Turns out 20 gigabytes was stolen from that associate's computer, and mostly had to do with operations of the local site, the hotel, and included a few hundred former employees' information. Which, why are there 300 employees' contact details on that computer? Not quite sure. Or maybe it was on a network attached file server or something that they got access to, or a Google Drive or something like that that was attached to their storage. So maybe that's how they got it. But yeah, very interesting. So the 7th breach since 2010, Marriott just keeps getting breaches. And this is an interesting phenomena, which has a few different possibilities. So obviously, what we've been seeing in all industries is consolidation. We see it in our own industry, in InfoSec, right? Blue Coat, one of the best web proxies out there ever, was subsumed into Symantec. Now it's no longer called Blue Coat. It's called Symantec. And all kinds of things like Duo and Kenna and SourceFire, Snort, all of that got subsumed. Not Snort itself, but SourceFire, which was the professional company built upon Snort. That got subsumed. That got consumed into Cisco. Microsoft is buying up all kinds of things right and left. Tenable is buying up things right and left. A lot of these companies are buying up various security products, startups, VCs. They're all buying up those opportunities. And so they are consolidating those. And it happens a lot in other industries as well. So in the hotel industry, you're seeing Hilton and Marriott are the two biggest ones doing this. They are going out and they are buying as much as they can. Holiday Inn as well. They're going through and they're buying up different hotel chains, different hotel brands. You might remember Starwood's Preferred Guest, SPG. That was the Westin and the Sheraton and several other hotel chains got bought up by Marriott. It was a huge deal to buy that luxury brand and bring that into the Marriott family. And as you would guess, every time they've basically done some kind of buy-up, they've had to report a breach. So I think it's a bit unfair to say that Marriott has suffered all these breaches. It's more fair to say that Marriott has merged with a lot of companies and have discovered that their security is not what it should be. And then in trying to implement those security controls, they find issues and they find breaches. And as they're trying to secure those, what often happens during M&A, threat actors actually do pay attention to M&A activity and they try to go after it. They say, hey, there's going to be confusion. Let's start getting in. Let's act like one of the new employees. Let's act like, the other person, the people getting bots. So that way, we can possibly get access and do things. Threat actors think of things like that. Because it's very important. So that's probably a thing that's going on here. I wonder, it's not stated what hotel or which part of the chain of Marriott and what site this was, because we may have been able to figure out, what they got. But it's very possible that the hotel that got hit with this in Marriott was somewhat new or something, a new site that they had recently purchased. Something else that's very interesting is when you think about franchises like hotel chains, really it is a franchise model. You have Marriott, of course, is the parent company. They provide a lot of services. They also demand a certain standard to which the franchisees will maintain the hotel, the service, what kinds of people they need to have in there, what types of accommodations they need to have, what types of beds need to be in there. The Westin, for instance, has the Heavenly series of beds. You can tell I'm a fan of the Westin. They have the Heavenly showers. Like, they have so many things that you gotta have. But those are services, those are trademarks, and those are things that belong to the Westin. They don't belong to John and Pam, hotel company who happens to own several Westin sites, or, I'm just making up a name there. They don't, John and Pam, that company, that LLC doesn't own those trademarks or anything. They're just implementing them essentially and making money while doing it. It is a little bit harder in a franchise model to secure everything. It becomes harder because then you have to have unified IAM, you have to have domains that are managed centrally, you have to have networks that are managed centrally, or at least have that governance model there. It's not always easy to distribute security across a franchise model like that. Not always. And so it may be, for instance, that this is a relatively new site. Marriott may not have been able to roll out or do an assessment or figure out exactly what types of controls are in place there. This, for instance, was a social engineering attack. On a social engineering attack, the attacker is essentially going to get access to whatever that user has access to. Why did that user, a big question is, why did that user have access to employee data like that? That doesn't really make sense. So what kind of associate was it? Was it just a front desk person? Or was this person maybe in HR for that local site? Who was that person? And I don't need to know who it is, but those are just questions that you might ask if you're in Marriott's position, of course. But I think the remarkable thing about this particular breach, it's not a really big breach, obviously, but it's notable simply because it's Marriott. And so I think it's interesting from the standpoint of, Marriott, the associate there, noticed that this was a scam. This is something doesn't sound right here. What this person is asking me to do and what I'm starting to do for this person, this seems to be wrong. And this seems to be something I need to stop and I need to go ask somebody about. That's great. That is actually really good. Good on Marriott for having security awareness, for having somebody, for having people that are going, this isn't okay. I need to go ask somebody about this. I need to stop what's going on right now. Fantastic. Good on you, Marriott. Because this could have been a lot worse. Had the associate thought, no, this is just fine, let's just keep going. Who knows? They could have implanted some malware. They could have pivoted then further into the system and could have got another mega breach. So really good on you, Marriott, for having that kind of security awareness that goes out to everybody. Good on that associate for reporting that in. I really hope they aren't getting disciplined for this. I hope their hand has been shaken quite aggressively In thankful aggression, not not anything else, not anything untoward. But I hope their hand has been, aggressively shaken. Give that person a raise, give them something to thank them, give them a bonus of some kind. Like, thank them for reporting that, because that is super important, to be able to have a staff that is comfortable and happy to report, and it needs to be known amongst the staff there. This person did a fantastic job. They're a credit to our, site, and if anybody else sees something like this, please do check in. We will thank you. We do not punish you. Like, that is super important. But 7 breaches. And you look at other hotels like SPG, actually, before they were being bought by Marriott, they had a rather interesting breach that happened at the same time. Maybe that was discovered by Marriott. Because sometimes during M&A, security actually gets brought in. They say, can you go do breach detection in this new place before we buy it? So sometimes that happens. This is interesting. It makes me wonder. One would probably wonder, man, you've been breached 7 times in the last 10 or 12 years. How the hell? Like, why should we trust you? This is a form of bias. We're seeing a lot of breaches from Marriott. Does that necessarily mean their security is total crap? Or does it mean they're really good at detecting when people get into the environment? When's the last time you saw Hilton detect a breach? When's the last time you saw Holiday Inn detect a breach? Any of them. It may be that there are certain situations that Marriott has gone through where they have clear security risks that they're accepting that are a little bit too high. And they have taken steps to ensure that even if something happens, they're able to detect it and they're able to respond to it. It may be even that because of all their M&A activity, they have been more prone to breaches because of just the level of difficulty there is in reaching out. So every time they buy somebody, a year later, sure enough, a breach is detected or something is found, while they're going and assessing or watching what's going on. Again, Hilton, Holiday Inn, other places, they're merging, they're buying up too. But I'm not seeing as many breaches from them. So what are they hiding? That's a thought. Are they hiding breaches? Are they not reporting breached information? Maybe Marriott's the one that's being good here. We don't have all the data. And that's an important thing to remember, is that reports like this are a lot like a lamppost that has a lamp on it. And you've lost your keys. And someone comes up and sees you, looking around underneath the lamppost. Says, hey, what are we looking for? Oh, my keys. You look everywhere and you say, yeah, when did you last have them? Well, I think I had them and I lost them over there. Well, then why the hell aren't you searching over there? Because the light's over here. It's silly, that little example there. And it's not mine. That's not my original one. I have a colleague I can blame for that, a past colleague of mine. But only looking where the light is shining, so only looking where we actually have the data, yes, that's the data you have to make decisions on. Yes, that's the data you have to make conclusions with. But you need to make sure that when you're looking at data like this, understand, okay, what data may we not have here that could skew or be influencing our conclusion making? ability. So is it that Marriott's just really crap because they've had 7 breaches in the last 10 years? Or is it because M&A is just really hard and this is the nature of it and they're just really good at reporting? We don't know. We don't know. It doesn't look good for brand reputation, though, because people out in the world don't think rationally. They see Marriott has had the 7th breach. What the hell is going on with Marriott? They're going to lose some customers. Yeah, it was only 300 employees' data. They don't care. All they're seeing is Marriott had a 7th breach in the last 10 to 12 years. Why should I stay at a Marriott? That assessment will be up to you. But think about that. Think about what's going on in a business like Marriott. Think about what's going on with other companies. You know, again, Marriott is just as targeted as Hilton is just as targeted as Wyndham or Holiday Inn or any Caesars Rewards, MGM. You know, all those places in Vegas, for instance, they're just as targeted. So why aren't we seeing more breaches from those places? Again, is it because Caesars is way better? Is it because Hilton is way better? Could just be that Marriott has way better detection capabilities and is finding that its M&A is not quite sufficient in detecting breaches as they walk in, or deficiencies, or stuff just happens during M&As. Could be a lot of things. But, you know, keep those things in mind. And now keep those things in mind for your companies and your organizations. This is a great opportunity to think, M&A, we should be doing breach detection assessments. Those are assessments you can get with other companies. They'll come in, they'll put sensors over the network, and they'll see if there is activity that looks like you're breached. So that's super important when you've done that. But then also afterwards, you need to treat that recently purchased company or asset as a probation for the next 2 years, because it's going to take time for you to subsume that into your security governance. It's going to take a while to actually set up security applications and security appliances and everything else that you want to put over in those environments in cloud and merge them in or decommission apps. And it's going to be a while. And so you need to up your visibility into those areas and make sure that's budgeted for when you do M&A. Again, if they tell you about it, and go from there. So take that as a bit of a lesson. But yeah, what are your thoughts on this? Is Marriott completely crap? You know, is all this just BS excuses and they should just be better anyway? You'd figure after the first few breaches, you'd learn your lesson on M&A anyway. So why is this so hard for them? It's hard for everybody. But what's your thoughts? Let's get it in the comments. Let me hear it on LinkedIn and on Twitter as well. Glass of 0J. That's not a no. That's a 0. And I'll see you in the next one.